It's a lovely day for racing here at Sebring International Raceway as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. MkII is on his practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at Sebring International Raceway as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. MkII is on his practice out lap. Spyder has a best lap time of 2:16.467. Spyder has a best lap time of 2:16.467. With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. MkII is in turn 5. MkII is on his first practice flying lap. T70 is getting to grips with the ASRL T70 MkII Spyder in this practice session. It's a lovely day for racing here at Sebring International Raceway as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Simon of the Desert is in turn 1. Simon of the Desert is on his first practice flying lap. Adam posted 2:07.191 on his last lap, and will be pushing hard for an even lower time. Adam has a best lap time of 2:07.191.
There is always more time to be found, but Adam is not guaranteed to find it.
Kevin just posted a 2:08.452 crossing start finish. MkII has a best lap time of 2:08.452.
If there is still time on the clock, there is still time to improve.
MkII posted 2:08.452 on his last lap, and will be pushing hard for an even lower time. Desert is getting to grips with the ASRL T70 MkII Spyder in this practice session. Sketty has a best lap time of 2:16.467. Sketty just posted a 3:03.401 crossing start finish. With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations.
The time clock can be a cruel mistress that is all too willing to show you your faults.
Stefano Amadei is on his practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at Sebring International Raceway as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Stefano Amadei is on his practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at Sebring International Raceway as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Get ready for some high-octane action, as the drivers take on the challenge of qualifying at Sebring International Raceway.
Strap in, folks, because we're in for a wild ride.
You can feel the tension building. David Zahn is out on track and getting ready to push for his qualifying time.
This is the moment he's been preparing for. Let's see if he can execute.
David Zahn is driving through turn 3.
There's a great spot near here to kick back with a cold drink and enjoy the beauty of it all.
David Zahn appears focused and prepared driving through hairpin turn. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Sketty is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run and get everything just right. Sketty is looking relatively composed going through Fangio chicane. That ASRL T70 MkII Spyder looks good driving through turn 12.
To see the best action, you can't go wrong here at turn 12.
David Zahn is on his out lap.
Patience is key in these early moments, Hal. But I have a feeling Zahn is going to make it count.
David Zahn is keeping his head down through Sunset Bend.
When I get some free time after the race, I'm going to park my pudding near Sunset Bend with a nice drink and some friends.
David Zahn crosses the start-finish line at the end of his outlap. It looks like Sketty is getting ready to make his move. He's taking his time to warm up those tires and get everything just right. That's the outlap done for Sketty. He'll now look to focus on his first flying lap.
These are the moments that really matter. Let's see if Sketty can deliver.
Sketty is driving through turn 1. The adrenaline is pumping. Malero is on his out lap, warming up the tires and getting ready to put in a fast lap time.
It's all about finding that balance between staying calm and focused, while also pushing the limits.
Malero appears focused and prepared driving through Collier Curve. Malero is expertly commanding that car through Gendebien Bend. There are just over 10 minutes left in this qualification session. That ASRL T70 MkII Spyder looks good driving through Sunset Bend. The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Kevin Lekmansky is rising to the occasion.
Kevin certainly is nailing this one. This is shaping up to be a great performance.
David Zahn will be looking to use this first hot lap to set a solid time in the standings. David Zahn is 0.26 up driving through turn 4. It's clear that Malero is pushing his car to the very edge of traction on this qualifying lap. Malero is in the green by 0.53, making his way through hairpin turn. It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and David Zahn is nailing both. Malero is on his first flying lap.
Absolutely. Malero is showing the world what he's made of.
Malero is looking relatively composed going through Collier Curve.
Fans sitting near Collier Curve get some of the best views of the action.
Malero is driving through Gendebien Bend and is up 1.19. Malero is now up 1.46 in Sunset Bend.
If Malero looks at that delta too much, it may end up being a distraction, and all that time he found may be lost.
This is what it's all about. Adam is putting everything he's got into this qualifying session. Adam completes his lap in a time of 2:06.444, currently in P1. The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Stefano Amadei is rising to the occasion. Stefano Amadei has just completed that lap in 2:10.367, which is 3.923 off the best time, putting him in P5. Adam is working his way through Fangio chicane. Ryan Wilson will be looking to use this first hot lap to set a solid time in the standings. Ryan Wilson is currently up 0.88 going through Cunningham corner. Ryan Wilson has improved by 0.14 up through Bishop Bend.
There's no guarantee that Ryan can maintain this delta through the rest of the lap.
Ryan Wilson is 0.71 up driving through Sunset Bend. Ryan Wilson just clocked a 207.814, 1.37 off of P1 and good enough for P3. Let's see if he can improve on that time further. There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. David Zahn appears focused and prepared driving through Gendebien Bend.
The action and glory drivers have lived here at Gendebien Bend is truly historic.
David Zahn is in the green by 0.62, making his way through Sunset Bend.
The rest of this lap is no cakewalk. Let's hope he can keep it up.
David Zahn will be happy, with a time good enough for fourth in this qualifying session. Adam has improved by 0.59. Adam is now up 0.61 in Ullman Straight. Adam is currently on provisional pole, with a time of 2:06.038.
That's a great time, but it's always a good idea to keeping pushing for every last tenth and hundredth.
Ryan Wilson is keeping his head down through Ullman Straight.
There's a spot near here where the teenagers sneak off to make out.
Ryan Wilson will be happy, with a time good enough for second in this qualifying session. That ASRL T70 MkII Spyder looks good driving through Le Mans curve.
The ASRL T70 MkII Spyder is indeed a sweet-ass looking ride.
Sketty has some work to do, as his best time of 2:10.198 is only good enough for sixth.
There's at least 4.16 seconds to be found, but Sketty may be looking for it in the wrong places.
Adam is looking relatively composed going through Le Mans curve.
Spectators near here can smell the smoke wafting from nearby grills.
Malero has improved by 0.14. Malero is driving through Bishop Bend and is up 0.2.
All we can do now is wish Malero luck as the start-finish line approaches.
Adam is now up 0.3. Malero is expertly commanding that car through Sunset Bend.
This track has many great straights and corners, but this one is especially good.
Malero will be happy, with a time good enough for 5th in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. He is surely working on that 2.132 gap to pole.
A solid performance from David Zahn, currently holding down P4. However, with the session coming to a close, he'll need to find that extra bit of speed to move up the grid. David Zahn appears focused and prepared driving through Fangio chicane. David Zahn has improved by 0.48 up through Flying Fortress Straight.
If Zahn gets greedy, this delta could go from green to red in the blink of an eye.
David Zahn is driving through Ullman Straight. David Zahn will be happy, with a time good enough for 3rd in this qualifying session. Currently in 7th, Stefano Amadei has displayed promising speed during the qualifying session. The real test lies in whether he can convert this performance into a higher grid position.
You're spot on, Hal. Stefano's current position of 7th is a testament to his skills and determination. Now, there is the challenge of maintaining his position against hungry rivals.
Stefano Amadei is 0.62 up driving through Ullman Straight.
Stefano needs all the focus and resolve he can muster to maintain this pace.
Stefano Amadei has some work to do, as his best time of 2:09.470 is only good enough for 6th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure he will keep working on that 3.737 gap to pole.
It's a very still day here at Sebring International Raceway, as we're getting ready to get things underway.
The calm before the storm. I don't know about you, Hal, but I'm expecting some hard-fought battles on track today.
Starting from pole position is the best possible outcome for Ryan Wilson.
Wilson is sure to be excited at his prospects for this race.
Starting on the front row is a great opportunity for Adam to challenge for the lead.
He can't count his chickens before they've hatched. There is a long way to go.
Watch out for MkII, starting from the third grid position in today's race.
I think we are all looking forward to seeing what Kevin can do from here.
Holding strong in fourth place is David Zahn.
Putting that ASRL T70 MkII Spyder into prime position for the race.
Stefano Amadei will look to make a splash from the fifth position on the starting grid.
The American driver will be focused on a good result from here.
Lining up in sixth is Malero.
Malero is hoping for a strong result.
Sitting in seventh is Sketty. Simon of the Desert is eighth. The green flag is waving and we're off to the races. Let's see who can get out in front and establish an early lead.
With adrenaline running high, some drivers may take unnecessary risks. Staying patient and knowing when to make a move is essential for a strong start.
The drivers are jockeying for position. Ryan Wilson will be looking to get off to a good start and consolidate his position. It's brilliant to see such a full grid here today. Ryan Wilson had better wake up a bit here to avoid being pushed to the back, being offline and off pace. Nobody wants to drop positions like that.
I'm sure Wilson isn't laughing, but he's given us a bit of comic relief with that slow start. Time to get serious and make up some ground.
Simon of the Desert is showing some real determination, making up positions right away.
That certainly gives Simon an early advantage. Let's see if he can put it to good use.
The stewards will be hoping that there aren't too many incidents for them to pick over when the dust settles on this one.
Every corner, every lap, and every race is a chance for these drivers to hone their abilities and improve their skills.
This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it.
Let's hope everyone is able to stay focused for the challenge ahead.
I think passing is going to be difficult today here at Sebring International Raceway, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on.
The race isn't won in the first turn, but there have been plenty that have ended their hell.
There's not much to report on from MkII at the moment. He's just keeping his head down and putting in consistent laps.
That's the mark of a good driver. Kevin is staying focused on his own race and not getting distracted.
An impressive showing from Kevin Lekmansky, who has gained positions and left Sketty in the dust.
Absolutely. Lekmansky is showing great pace and determination, but he can't get too confident. There are still plenty of challenges ahead.
It may seem like Simon of the Desert is far behind, but Stefano Amadei can't afford to let his guard down. One mistake could give Simon of the Desert an opening to catch up.
Surely he's got enough in the tank to pull away. Gonna be interesting to watch this battle unfold.
Breaking news, folks. I don't think that's the fastest way around Sebring International Raceway.
Oops, Sketty is going to be wishing that hadn't happened.
Simon of the Desert is staying focused while chasing Stefano Amadei in P4. Simon of the Desert is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Stefano Amadei to 0.6 seconds.
This is what racing is all about, hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
This is a thrilling battle as Malero edges closer to Simon of the Desert in their fight for P5. It's certainly not going to plan for Malero right now, who is struggling to keep up with Simon of the Desert.
Malero needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way. If he can close the gap down, he may be able to bring the fight to Simon.
Stefano Amadei has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Ryan Wilson. I expect his only hope at this point is that Ryan makes an error.
Every race adds to a driver's experience, both good and bad. It just highlights that Stefano is going to have to get more serious with practice to not get outclassed on the circuit.
Malero is running 6th, and trying to catch Simon of the Desert. The gap between Malero and Simon of the Desert is widening. It's now up to 0.6 seconds.
This is not ideal for Malero, but there's still time to turn this around. He'll need to focus and not let that gap get any bigger.
The pressure is on as Malero tries to catch up to Simon of the Desert. Looks like we might have a great battle starting here between Simon of the Desert in 5th and Malero. It's been tense with a gap of only 0.4 seconds. Breaking update. Simon of the Desert has just dropped the ball. Malero didn't waste any time taking advantage of that.
Indeed, he's been trying so hard to hold his position, but the other drivers are just too strong. Meanwhile, Malero is showing some great pace. Simon is doing a great job of defending in the lead, and Malero is pushing hard to close the gap. It's an exciting race and it's not over yet.
Ada, how do racing drivers like yourself train to maintain concentration for long periods of time?
Mental training is a huge part of a driver's preparation, Hal. Techniques like meditation, visualization, and working with sports psychologists can help drivers build their focus and mental endurance for a race.
That's not a small gap, but Sketty has what it takes to challenge for the position.
It's going to be tough for Sketty, as Dave seems to have found his rhythm.
Sketty appears to be losing ground on David Zahn. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into Flying Fortress Straight to get a good exit and gain some ground.
This is where the mental toughness of Sketty comes into play. He'll need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way.
Sketty is pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap to David Zahn. There's 6 minutes left in this session to make that happen.
This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Sketty in P8 doing everything he can to catch up.
It's all about consistency for Adam, who is currently first.
Definitely Hal, but Adam can't afford to get complacent. This race is going to require focus and intensity.
He can't hold on. Adam is losing time to Kevin Lekmansky. Stefano Amadei is placed fourth at the moment. It looks like Malero is starting to catch up to Stefano Amadei. The gap is now down to 0.6 seconds.
He'll need to step up his game and start pulling away again.
Look at that, Malero is hot on the tail of Stefano Amadei. It looks like Malero is making a move. The gap to Stefano Amadei is now down to 0.2 seconds. Malero is trying his best to catch Stefano Amadei.
You can see that car bouncing around as it rides the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
Stefano Amadei is placed fourth at the moment, and hoping to keep his distance ahead of Malero, who is 0.5 seconds behind.
Absolutely. And on the other side of the equation, Malero can't afford to let up. He's got to drive with intensity and focus, and wait for any opportunity to arise.
Hold on a second. It's looking good for Malero, who has gained a place after passing Stefano Amadei.
Go, 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 that's what we want to see.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed.
With just 0.5 seconds between them, Malero will need to close the gap to have hopes of a pass.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Stefano Amadei trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Malero. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Looking at the lap times, Stefano Amadei is not currently on pace with Malero. Maybe he'll get a chance to see where to make up some time.
Hopefully Stefano can find some of that missing time and get it back.
Well, it looks like we have a bit of a traffic jam on the track.
It's like rush hour out there. I mean, I know we're in a race, but can't we all just get along?
You can wish all you want, but I don't think that's how racing works, Ada. These drivers are here to win, and they'll do whatever it takes to get ahead.
I guess you're right, but wouldn't it be great if they all just stopped for high fives and fist bumps?
The race is heating up as Stefano Amadei in fifth closes in on Malero. The gap between Stefano Amadei and Malero is getting smaller. Huge shout out to the admins at ASRL for making this all possible. Without their hard work and dedication, we wouldn't be able to witness this incredible event.
That's right, Hal, and the excitement is electric. I can feel it in my circuits. I mean, this is the kind of race that people will be talking about in the bar. We're witnessing history in the making.
Well, it doesn't look like Stefano Amadei is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Malero. The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Simon of the Desert in sixth chases after Stefano Amadei. Simon of the Desert is on a charge. His split time shows he's upped his pace. Oh, this is getting intense. Stefano Amadei needs to keep Malero in his sights.
The gap between them is now just over 0.9 seconds.
Stefano Amadei is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Malero at the moment. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure Stefano Amadei is going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. He's not giving up without a fight.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination.
David Zahn will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. It looks like we might get a battle between David Zahn and Simon of the Desert.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. A driver that stays calm and focused is more likely to come out on top.
A strong showing from Adam, who is currently first. Some great driving from Adam, who has increased his lead over Kevin Lekmanski and is starting to put some distance between them.
That's a really strong performance from Adam. He's not giving Kevin any chances to catch up.
The pursuit is on. Simon of the Desert is working on that gap to Stefano Amadei, determined to claim P5.
Simon needs to focus to make up that gap to Stefano.
It's game on now. Simon of the Desert has closed the gap to Stefano Amadei. It's now down to 0.8 seconds.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
It's looking good for Kevin Lekmanski, sitting in second. Kevin Lekmanski needs to find some speed, or maybe get more consistent. Ada. He's just put in a slower lap than Ryan Wilson.
It will be interesting to see if Wilson can keep outpacing Lekmanski.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Simon of the Desert is closing in on Stefano Amadei. It looks like Stefano Amadei is pulling away from Simon of the Desert. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through turn 12. Ryan Wilson is running third, and trying to keep up with Kevin Lekmanski.
Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
Good news for Ryan Wilson. The gap to Kevin Lekmanski has decreased. It's now down to 0.5 seconds. Things don't seem to be going Simon of the Desert's way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. It seems like Simon of the Desert is struggling. His last lap time was a bit off the pace of Stefano Amadei.
Hopefully Simon can find some of that missing time and get it back.
Every move counts now as Ryan Wilson works to reel in Kevin Lekmanski and overtake for P2.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Ryan needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
Things are heating up as Simon of the Desert tries to close the gap to Stefano Amadei. Looking at the lap times, Simon of the Desert is not currently on pace with Stefano Amadei. Maybe he'll get a chance to see where to make up some time. Breaking news, folks. Big gains for Simon of the Desert as they move up the field, leaving Stefano Amadei behind. Looks like Stefano Amadei is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer.
The gap between Stefano Amadei and Simon of the Desert is growing. It's now up to 1.0 seconds. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Ryan Wilson is chasing Kevin Lekmanski in P2. It looks like Ryan Wilson is making a move. The gap to Kevin Lekmanski is now down to 0.4 seconds.
Exactly what Ryan needed. He can't afford to lose any more ground to Kevin.
These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving.
Ryan Wilson is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. Ryan Wilson needs to find some speed, or maybe get more consistent. Ada, he's just put in a slower lap than Kevin Lekmansky.
It will be interesting to see if Lekmansky can keep outpacing Wilson.
The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Stefano Amadei needs to find a way to close the gap. Stefano Amadei is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Simon of the Desert to 0.8 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
Ryan Wilson could be looking for a way up the inside of Kevin Lekmansky.
And Wilson is poised to capitalize on any mistake. It's just a matter of who cracks first.
It's not going to plan for Ryan Wilson, who is trailing behind Kevin Lekmansky, and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. During your racing career, Ada, how did you determine when it was the right time to pit for fresh tires due to tire degradation?
It was a combination of factors, Hal. Monitoring lap times, communicating with the team about tire wear, and assessing the car's handling were all crucial in deciding when to make a pit stop for fresh tires.
The battle for P4 is heating up as Stefano Amadei tries to catch Simon of the Desert in P4.
We'll have to wait to see if Stefano can get into drafting range.
It looks like we might get a battle between Stefano Amadei and Simon of the Desert. As a former driver, Ada, how did you manage the physical demands of racing? Hold up, breaking info. Superb driving from Stefano Amadei, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
It's all about preparation, Hal. Drivers undergo rigorous fitness training to build their strength, stamina, and flexibility. A proper diet and hydration plan is also essential to ensure peak performance on race day.
The race is really heating up. Ryan Wilson is hunting down Kevin Lekmansky with everything he's got. Stefano Amadei is running fifth and trying to catch Simon of the Desert.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Stefano is really walking that fine line.
Stefano Amadei is not able to keep his pace consistent, and is currently 0.88 seconds down. A great moment for Stefano Amadei, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
Yes, Stefano is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
The pressure is on as Ryan Wilson tries to catch up to Kevin Lekmansky. It's certainly not going to plan for Ryan Wilson right now, who is struggling to keep up with Kevin Lekmansky.
Wilson needs to get it together to make a dent in that gap.
This is a thrilling battle as Simon of the Desert edges closer to Stefano Amadei in their fight for P4.
This is not going to be an easy pass to make.
Ryan Wilson is on a mission, chasing Kevin Lekmansky, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. It's game on now. Ryan Wilson has closed the gap to Kevin Lekmansky. It's now down to 0.3 seconds. Simon of the Desert is giving it his all, chasing down Stefano Amadei in P4.
The gap between them is just over 0.5 seconds. Can Simon close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
The pursuit is on. Ryan Wilson is closing the gap on Kevin Lekmansky, determined to claim P2. Hold on a second. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
This is where every inch counts. Wilson is pushing hard to close the gap on MkII. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for David Zahn as there is a big gap ahead.
Anything can happen yet, and it usually does. I've certainly seen drivers come back from worse.
Oh, this is getting intense. Ryan Wilson is just a few car lengths behind Kevin MkII.
I would not be surprised to see him get this pass completed soon.
It's not looking good for Ryan Wilson, who is still behind Kevin MkII, and the gap is increasing. It looks like Adam has found another gear in the last sector of the race.
He's going to need to make some more room on that trophy shelf back home.
And that, folks, is how it's done. A solid performance and great win from Adam. A nail-biting finish, but Kevin MkII claims second place. What a race from Ryan Wilson, showing his skill and determination for a great third-place finish.
Great job bringing it home.
Finishing fourth is David Zahn. Fifth sees Simon of the Desert. Sixth is Stefano Amadei. In seventh, it's Sketty. It's a very still day here at Sebring International Raceway, as we're getting ready to kick things off.
The drivers are looking focused out there on the grid. I'm excited for this one, Hal.
Stefano Amadei will be feeling confident starting from pole position.
The pressure's on now. Let's see if any of the other drivers can challenge for this spot at the start.
Sketty is starting this race on the front row.
He can't let that advantage go to waste. He will need to stay focused and keep his eyes on the prize.
The third position is occupied by David Zahn.
Like many others, Zahn is starting the race on the Standards tire compound.
Simon of the Desert lines up in fourth place as the engines rev and the race begins.
It's like he's on the outside looking in, close enough to see the front without actually being there.
At fifth, we have the one and only Kevin MkII.
It's not always easy to get the ASRL T70 MkII Spyder this high up the starting grid.
Starting from the sixth position on the grid, we have Ryan Wilson.
Ryan is in a good place to mount a good challenge come the first corner.
Adam is lining up 7th.
Adam does not always keep it clean, but when they do, they excel at gaining positions.
Our 8th place starter, Malero, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track. The starting flag has been waved, and the battle on the track begins. The opening lap is always intense, with drivers vying for an early advantage.
This is where the true test of a driver's skill comes into play. It's all about finding the right line and carrying as much speed as possible through the turn.
The drivers will need to be precise and calculated if they want to make it through this section unscathed.
And with so many cars jostling for position, it's a real test of nerve as well. One wrong move and you could be out of the race before it even really gets started.
That's right, the pressure is really on these drivers to perform.
Is
there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position?
With this motley bunch of drivers there is bound to be drama. I just hope we don't miss it.
As the tires come up to temp, their available grip is changing, and the drivers that manage this transition best are likely to make progress through the field.
The drivers will be jostling for the best position, Hal. Some of them may not make it to the second lap in one piece.
Settling into a rhythm is going to be crucial here. As the drivers get this race underway, let me give a shout out to the admin team at ASRL for making this all possible. Heroes one and all.
It all comes down to this, Hal, where the rubber meets the road. There's no more time for talk, no more practice. The teams have done all they can, now it comes down to Simon, to bring it home.
All the drivers will be trying to take advantage of the pack whilst they're still bunched up.
The first lap can always be a bit of a melee as everyone tries to establish themselves. It's easy for inexperienced racers to blow it in T1.
It's a steady race for Adam so far, keeping it clean and maintaining focus. It looks like Sketty is all over Stefano Amadei going through Sunset Bend, increasing the pressure and hoping for a mistake.
It looks like Sketty has the speed to make a move. I just hope he can do it cleanly.
Oh dear, Sketty has dropped down to 3rd. Looks like Adam is really hitting those curves aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. We'll have to wait to see if Adam can use the draft to his advantage, or if the lack of downforce will hinder his progress.
We're watching Simon of the Desert in 4th, and is currently being hounded by Adam with a gap of just 0.1 seconds. Stop the press. Oh, the frustration must be building for Simon of the Desert. He's just lost 4th position to Adam and he's going to have to work hard to get it back. Adam has the pedal to the metal chasing Simon of the Desert.
Rubbing's racing, but let's just hope they don't rub it too hard.
This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
You can feel the intensity in the air. The slightest mistake could cost either of them valuable time and the position.
The intensity is off the charts as Ryan Wilson hounds Stefano Amadei, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. Hold on a second. Fantastic move from Ryan Wilson, who has just gained a position.
That's right, Hal. The pressure can easily get the best of even seasoned drivers. The fans are on the edge of their seats, waiting to see who will come out on top in this epic showdown.
Breaking alert. Looks like that's a mistake from Simon of the Desert. This could be costly.
Sebring International Raceway is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
Ryan Wilson is looking for a way to close that gap to Sketty. It's a solid performance from Ryan Wilson at the moment. He's holding his position and not getting too caught up in battles around him. Malero is on a mission, chasing Stefano Amadei, who's currently got a comfortable lead.
He's got his work cut out for him, that's for sure.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Ryan Wilson is closing in on Sketty.
Ryan needs to focus to have a chance at getting past Sketty.
It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Ryan Wilson gaining places and Sketty losing them.
Yes, but Wilson needs to keep pushing hard. This race is far from over, and anything can happen. Wilson needs to stay focused and drive with skill and determination.
Breaking update. And Sketty has just won the place from Ryan Wilson. The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this.
It looks like Sketty wants to take a cheeky peek up the inside.
Heartbreak for Sketty, as they slip down the field. Malero seems to be putting the pressure on Stefano Amadei. Breaking update. What a move. Malero has moved up to third.
To achieve anything in this game, you must be prepared to dabble at the boundary of disaster.
Ryan Wilson wants to get into Sketty's slipstream.
And if you're enjoying the racing, please remember to like and subscribe.
Hold on a moment. A great pass for Ryan Wilson, swapping places with Sketty to move up the field. In racing, anything can, and usually does, happen, especially in such an epic showdown.
There's blood in the water for first place.
Look at that. Stefano Amadei is hot on the tail of Malero.
The mental game is just as important here. Stefano must keep his cool while putting pressure on Malero.
Things are heating up as Adam tries to close the gap to Sketty. Good news for Adam, the gap to Sketty has decreased. It's now down to 0.2 seconds. This is getting exciting. Stefano Amadei is looking for any gap that might open up the position. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving.
Every move counts now as Malero works to reel in Ryan Wilson and overtake for P1. Braking alert. That won't be ideal for Stefano Amadei.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 2 kph out there right now. Malero is looking to close the 0.4 second gap and make a pass.
The pressure is on as David Zahn works on catching up to Sketty.
The gap is 0.6 seconds now. Zahn is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Sketty.
A solid performance from Adam, who is holding down fourth. Hold on a moment. And Adam has just lost the place to Sketty.
Adam really needs to get his head in the game and start making some progress here before it's too late. Yes, but Adam has to keep his focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
Hold up. Breaking info. I don't think that's the fastest way around Sebring International Raceway.
Sketty is not going to be happy about that.
This is a tough break for Adam. He just lost P5 to Sketty.
That's right. He's got to stay focused and not let this setback affect his mindset. Meanwhile, Sketty is showing some incredible skill and determination, and is now a serious threat to the other drivers on the track.
The pursuit is on. Malero is working on that gap to Ryan Wilson. determined to claim P1.
It's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
It looks like Malero is making a move. The gap to Ryan Wilson is now down to 0.8 seconds.
That's a great effort from Malero. He'll need to keep up the pressure and see if he can make a move.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed. Adam has just put in a faster lap than David Zahn, so that's going to give him something to worry about.
We will have to see if Zahn has got any answers for that.
The race is really heating up. Stefano Amadei is hunting down Sketty with everything he's got. Braking update. Great driving from Stefano Amadei, who has just gained a place and moved up to 6th.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
Adam is looking for a way round David Zahn.
He'll need to keep it on the road, or at the very least the rumble strips. The fastest way around is not usually in the grass. As the saying goes, too much grass will slow you down.
It seems like Adam is struggling. His last lap time was a bit off the pace of David Zahn.
Hopefully Adam can find some of that missing time and get it back.
The pressure is on as Malero tries to catch up to Ryan Wilson.
Malero is really pushing the limits. He's riding the curbs and hustling that ASRL T70 MkII Spyder like a boss.
This is what high-octane racing looks like. Adam is breathing down the neck of David Zahn, not giving him any room to relax. The gap between Malero and Ryan Wilson is razor thin as they vie for first in this nail-biting contest. Hold on a second. Oh dear, Adam has had an incident.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race he'd been looking at a decent result.
Malero is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift.
It's a game of strategy now as Malero hunts down Wilson. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
Malero is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Ryan Wilson at the moment.
He needs to pick up the pace for sure, but that's not always a real possibility.
The tension is building as Kevin MkII trails behind Malero. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting.
That's right, MkII in third knows to push it to the limit to catch up. But Malero is no slouch, and he's going to be pushing just as hard.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Malero is chasing Ryan Wilson in P1.
You can see that car bouncing around as it rides the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
Kevin MkII is on a mission, chasing Malero, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. Kevin MkII is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Malero to 0.3 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. A driver that stays calm and focused is more likely to come out on top.
While Malero is not under immediate threat from Kevin MkII, he can still benefit from staying focused. Any slip-up could lose him the position. Things are starting to get tense as Kevin MkII manages to close the gap to Malero. It's now down to 0.3 seconds. Kevin MkII is giving it his all, chasing down Malero in P2. Hold the phone. It's looking good for Kevin MkII, who has gained a place after passing Malero.
With just 0.3 seconds between them, MkII will need to close the gap to have hopes of a pass.
This is a thrilling battle as Malero edges closer to Kevin MkII in their fight for P2. The gap between Malero and Kevin MkII is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds. Even though Malero is a fair way behind Kevin MkII, he can't afford to let his guard down. Kevin MkII is still vulnerable to mistakes. He's pulling away. Kevin MkII is increasing the gap to Malero. You can feel the tension in the air.
The drivers are all focused, putting everything on the line for a chance at victory, pushing themselves and their machines to the limit.
And let's not forget about the incredible machines themselves.
Absolutely. It's amazing to think about the kind of engineering and innovation that goes into making these vehicles. But it all comes down to the drivers, who have to be able to handle the power and speed. It's going to be thrilling seeing how this race turns out.
Hold that thought. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. This is where the race gets really interesting. Adam is closing in on David Zahn.
Adam is really hustling that ASRL T70 MkII Spyder. He's riding the curbs and pushing the car to its limits.
It seems like Adam has got the bit between his teeth, improving on David Zahn's lap time there.
The question now is, can Zahn respond to that and pick up the pace? I'm not so sure.
In your experience, Ada, what was the most challenging aspect of maintaining concentration during a race?
The most challenging aspect, Hal, was managing the various inputs and distractions during the race, from radio communication with the team to monitoring car performance and race strategy. It's a delicate balancing act that requires immense mental discipline.
Adam wants to close that gap with David Zahn.
For sure, Hal, that's exactly what I would be doing here, as Zahn is going to be aware of him riding his bumper.
Simon of the Desert is pushing to maintain the lead, while Sketty is working to close in and challenge for the position. Looks like Adam is really hitting those curbs aggressively, which can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer.
Adam could be on a charge here, Ada. He's just put in a quicker lap than David Zahn.
As long as Adam can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
The gap between Ryan Wilson and Malero is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Ryan to even allow Malero to get a look in. The gap between Malero and Ryan Wilson is growing. It's now up to 3.6 seconds. Adam is running fifth and trying to catch David Zahn.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Adam needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
It looks like we might get a battle between Adam and David Zahn.
This is what racing is all about, hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
Big gains for Adam as they move up the field, leaving David Zahn behind.
Yes, but Adam can't rest on his laurels, but needs to keep pushing to consolidate his position.
Malero has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Ryan Wilson. I expect his only hope at this point is that Ryan makes an error. Things are heating up as David Zahn tries to close the gap to Adam.
The racing is getting tight between Zahn and Adam as they battle for P4.
Hold on a moment. A brilliant maneuver from David Zahn, who has just moved up the field.
You can't argue with results like that. David is really making his mark on this race. No doubt, both drivers know that one mistake could cost them the position. It's a test of nerves as much as skill.
Well, it doesn't look like David Zahn is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Adam. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Kevin MkII as there is a big gap ahead.
MkII certainly isn't going to be close enough to mount any kind of challenge soon unless it's down to a mistake from Dave.
It's game on now. Kevin MkII has closed the gap to David Zahn. It's now down to 1.2 seconds.
Exactly what MkII needed. He can't afford to lose any more ground to Zahn.
Things are going according to plan for Ryan Wilson, who is currently first.
That's right. Wilson can't afford to make any mistakes or let up. Every point counts in this championship.
Oh no, Ada, look at this. Malero is closing in on Ryan Wilson. The gap is now just 2.5 seconds.
That's a worrying sign for Wilson.
It looks like Kevin MkII is pushing hard to catch up to David Zahn. Adam is placed third at the moment. Every move counts now as David Zahn works to reel in Adam and overtake for P3. A great moment for David Zahn, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. Hold that thought. Disappointing for David Zahn, falling down the order to fourth.
Impressive. Zahn is really showing his skill and determination out there.
The delta between Kevin MkII in fifth and David Zahn remains over a second, but Kevin MkII is not letting up.
Indeed, the anticipation is high as MkII tries to reel in David.
It seems like Kevin MkII is struggling and not able to maintain his pace.
MkII needs to regroup and refocus and knock it up a notch.
A strong showing from David Zahn, who is currently fourth.
Definitely, but he can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers gunning for that position, and Zahn has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
Oh, Ada. David Zahn has seen his lead over Kevin MkII shrink to 0.7 seconds.
This is a real test for Zahn. He'll need to find some extra pace and hold off MkII to have a shot at winning this race.
We often hear drivers complaining about tire graining. Ada, can you explain what that means and how it affects car handling?
Graining occurs when small rubber particles roll up on the tire's surface, reducing grip and negatively affecting handling. It usually happens when the tires are not in their optimal temperature window or when a driver is pushing too hard on a cold or overworked tire.
The gap between David Zahn and Kevin MkII is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from David to even allow Kevin to get a look in.
It's not over until the checkered flag drops, and it's important to maintain concentration until you've made it to the finish line.
Good news for Kevin MkII. The gap to David Zahn has decreased. It's now down to 0.3 seconds.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
Stop the press. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Kevin MkII gaining places and David Zahn losing them.
Absolutely, Hal, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Kevin can't afford to get complacent.
Sketty is pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap to Simon of the Desert. There's 23 minutes left in this session to make that happen.
Simon is not going to give up his position easily.
Oh, this is getting intense. David Zahn is just a few car lengths behind Kevin Lekmanski. Breaking update. An impressive showing from David Zahn, who has gained positions and left Kevin Lekmanski in the dust. As we come into the final moments of this epic race, Ryan Wilson is in the lead.
That's an impressive burst of speed. It's all but said and done now.
And there it is. Ryan Wilson has completed the race in first place, setting a blistering pace that none of the other drivers could match.
That was a true masterclass in driving from Ryan. You could see him making split-second decisions with total confidence, and it really paid off. What a performance.
Impressive second-place finish for Malero.
Impressive result. He can be proud of that performance, which landed him on the second podium spot.
Impressive drive from Adam to claim the final spot on the podium.
What a drive, well-deserved spot on the podium with that performance.
Followed by Kevin Lekmanski, David Zahn, Stefano Amadei, and Simon of the Desert in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Sketty end in 8th.